Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at my 2013 Chevy Volt with 89,000 miles on the clock, which I am just appalled at. I do have some stuff over there, but just to show you, we're 87,000 miles. My apologies. And again, this is a 2013, and after just giving it a really nice wash here, I just wanted to show everyone just how well the Volt has held up over, I have to wipe this off here, over 12 years, it's 2025 now, and 87,000 miles of usage. And most of that mileage has been in Wisconsin. I personally have only owned this Volt for a little over a year now, but before that, it was owned by an older gentleman in Wisconsin here where I live, and it has seen some harsh winters over those 13 years, basically. Well, 12 years, but 13 model years. So I just want to start with the area of the vehicle that is going to get the most abuse and use out of it. So that being the front grille. And if you take a look here, the Chevy logo is cracked a little bit and it is discolored, but it's not too much of a notice on there, only if you have a fine eye. That's the first issue here. We do have a couple of scratches that just kind of come with the territory here. One right there, one right there, which I did try to touch up. Some dirt that I just didn't get off of the vehicle when washing it, but just taking a look at it here, some bug splatter that I just cannot get off for the life of me, and some other nicks and whatnot here. But if you were to run your hands along here, it's pretty smooth. And then taking a look here at the hood, I'm very impressed here at how minor of rock scratches that there are on the hood. A few chips here and there, but honestly, after 12 years of being on the road and 87,000 miles, it's really tough to tell. And A, that's because of the color, but B, I think because this vehicle is a little bit more aerodynamic, stuff tends to kind of flow over the car better. And also, this Chevy Volt was made so well and such high quality from GM that they lost about $45,000 on every one of these vehicles they sold. So really, theoretically, you could say this was an $85,000 car when it was new in 2013 instead of a $40,000 car. So you're getting very high quality paint and clear coat on here. I think personally, out of the 15 cars I've owned personally, this is the car with the best quality of paint and clear coat combo. And this color, of course, does a great job at hiding scratches and whatnot. I mean, if you were to really look in depth here, it's like a silver ice, even though they call this silver topaz or iced topaz, something like that. This has held up extremely well, and I have to say I'm very impressed with the front part of the car. You can see there is some rubbing that happens with the bumper over time as the clips get a little saggy, but honestly, looking at the bumper here, there's really no front bumper sag. That is nice. And another thing I have to point out, the ground clearance with the front of this vehicle is extremely low because of this like aerodynamic part right here, but honestly, it's pretty soft rubber. So I tend to, when I drive into my driveway, there's a little bit of a bump, I hit it all the time. And that has actually held up very well too. Just even pulling in and out of the gas station, you have to take it at an angle because that will for sure drag at some point. I did have to replace the headlamps on both sides, but that's kind of normal and that is pretty easy to do. Taking a look here at the mirror caps, that's another area that gets hit pretty hard with rocks. Honestly, held up pretty well. And I do have to say again, this plastic that Chevy used is higher quality than most other products I've seen, other brands I should say I've seen. I mean, you can take a look here, a little bit of a better angle. There's really not much for rock chips on here. It's fairly smooth, and there's no sort of like oxidization or any sort of fogging in the interior part of the turn signals. That should be another thing that I should point out. There's no fogging with the headlamps, which is awesome on a vehicle of this age and mileage. Taking a look here, the driver's side, same thing. There's a few scratches and whatnot on it, but again, for the mileage, it's really held up quite well. This is my second charger. The first charger I had, somebody ran over the cord when it was plugged in right there, and it pulled it out and it broke. But otherwise, this is a very heavy duty inlet, I think, and I've never had really any issues with this opening except in the wintertime when we get rain and it turns to ice. Otherwise, taking a look here, the piano black has held up okay. I did do a paint correction on this car when I bought it because it was pretty scratched up. This is one part of the car that is going to age, is the piano black, and it's important that you treat this like you treat your paint. So try to treat it really nice because piano black scratches so easily. But taking a look at the side here, you know, there are some scratches and whatnot that happens, very visible to the eye. But the side of the vehicle, you can see I've got some contaminants that I need to take off. Otherwise, because the track of this car, the tires sling everything up inside the tire well, the wheel well, there's really not much for scratching or not much for rock imprints on the side of the vehicle. So this looks really good in my opinion. Even going back here, you could see there is some sling from some tar and whatnot that did come up on the road, but for the most part, there's really not much noticeable damage from rocks or anything out of the ordinary. And if you are like me, maybe you have a vehicle as a secondary vehicle here. I've got some sports cars that have wider tires. They tend to sling the rocks, the gravel, the sand on the road all the way up along the sides, and then it really causes damage back here. But this paint has sustained that, A, because it's higher quality, B, because the track is narrower, and it's really done a good job. Now, this plastic here really hasn't faded. A lot of this is my fault for when I was doing the paint correction with the polish. I just did not wipe it off fast enough. This has actually stayed its pretty true original color, and I honestly like this plastic trim because that's another reason why this paint isn't damaged here, because A, this part isn't paint, so it really can't be damaged unless you hit like a boulder. Same goes for back here, not faded, just polish on here. And again, my bad for not taking that off. Taking a look at the trunk area here, this is pretty nice, although it could be better. We do have a dog that goes with us on trips from time to time, but this is, you know, it's held up fairly well. The one thing I don't like, and what is starting to show its age, is the spoiler here. So in our garage, because we have a shallow or a not a tall garage, it tends to hit the top of the actual garage door. So this area is a point of wear. Honestly, for how abusive it is sometimes, this has held up extremely well. Again, high quality clear coat, high quality paint, and a decent plastic or a composite. There's really no fogging here on the rear turn signals and brake signals as well, except for a little bit of fogging right there because we do have a slight hairline crack in the rear tail light here. But overall, it's held up fairly well. I touched this up myself, not the greatest touch-up job because I was sent the wrong touch-up paint, but everything is held up extremely well here on the Volt. Now the tires, or even the rims here, if you're not looking at the curb rash that the previous owner did, the rims themselves, you know, you'll notice sometimes there's rock chips or brake dust on there. there's really not a lot of that on these rims. Not a lot of rock chips or brake dust. Again, it's kind of like a coated aluminum rim. You can see here, there's definitely some curb rash that happened. But overall, this has held up extremely well. Now, taking a look here in the interior, you can see I've just got the basic cloth interior, but again, nobody sits in the back. These rear seats look brand new. I'm very, very impressed with that. I almost prefer the cloth seating over the leather seating because the wear just doesn't present itself as much as the cloth does. Now again, this is the base model, so you get a lot of hard plastics in here. Now the plus about the hard plastics is that it's not going to show its age as much as like a leather or a leatherette feature would on here. And honestly, the interior is holding up extremely well. We'll go over to the driver's side. Little chip right there. This type of covering here is not very strong. I just hit the side of my garage because I have a very small garage, and that was enough to just chip this sort of hard plastic away. This is not very strong. But taking a look at the driver's seat here, this is the seat that gets the most use, and it's honestly pretty dang good. There's not a lot of wear. Now, it was an older gentleman who owned it before me, not a very large man from what I could gather. And I myself am not a very large man either. I'm about 160 at 5'8", so I don't really cause a lot of wear to these seats. But again, taking a look at some of this area, you could just start to see a little bit of wear right there. Otherwise, these seats have held up extraordinarily well. I do a lot of driving in this in myself, so the passenger seat doesn't get worn very much. Even these softer bits here have held up pretty well. This part of the seat, the higher back, is kind of a harder material, so that's held up well. The steering wheel, again, is like a vinyl material. This is one of the worst steering wheels that I've ever used, but it is pretty nice. And just taking a look here, you've got some plastic along the sides. A lot of harder plastic in here, but it was designed thoughtfully and made up pretty nice. Now, when you get into the actual Volt, it feels like it's a 2025 model year vehicle because of the capacitive touch buttons, along with the digital display there and the digital display here. All of that works flawlessly, and that's held up very well. HVAC is good. Even the headliner here has held up extremely well. So guys, if you're looking for a vehicle, honestly, that gets you great gas mileage, gives you the ability to charge and plug in and drive your car on electric most of the time, especially if you live in a city environment or you're like me who just drives to and from work mainly with this vehicle, this is the perfect vehicle for you. This was a moonshot vehicle by GM, and because of that, it was made, like I said earlier, they lost $45,000 on each one of these vehicles made. So the amount of engineering and the tech that went into this was so ahead of its time that they had to make sure this vehicle was a step up from every other GM vehicle that they ever made. So this vehicle has the highest quality materials of any real GM vehicle I've seen in person. And I'm very impressed with it. Very, very impressed with it. Like I said, if you factor in the retail price plus the net loss, this is an $85,000 vehicle. So it should have high quality paint, high quality clear coat, high quality underpinnings, everything like that. So with that being said, if you're looking for an efficient vehicle, you have to look no further than the Volt. I have just enjoyed this so much, and it's held up so well. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe for more car content, and we will see you in the next one.